മണ്ണോ അന്ന് പെർമിറ്റ് ഇല്ലേനു, ഇന്നിപ്പോ നമ്മള് പെർമിറ്റ് ആക്കി. ഓ ഒരു കൊല്ലം അതിന്റെ അത്ര പെട്ടെന്നൊന്നും ഇതായി വരില്ല ഉദ്യോഗസ്ഥന്മാരെല്ലാം. പിന്നെ കൊറോണയല്ലേ, ഓരോടത്ത് പോയാലും ഒരാഴ്ച 2 ആഴ്ച അങ്ങനെ. പ്രദേശവാസികൾക്ക് കിണറ്റിന് വെള്ളം ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ വീടെടുത്ത് നമുക്ക് വെള്ളം വേണ്ടേ, നമ്മൾ വെള്ളം കുടിക്കാണ്ട് ഇരിക്കുക. അതെ.
Good morning, everyone. Can all of you hear me?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
All right, great. So, great to see all of you. And before we begin the presentations for today, I would request someone who has given the presentation. Adnan,
Yes, sir.
can you do the recap? Can you do the reporting for this week?
Okay, sir.
And let's see. Anyone who would like to volunteer who has given the presentation? Anyway, so let us start the presentations and then we will come back to.
Should I begin?
So we have the first two presenters, Mohammad Saad and Sharif Javed.
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Yes, sir. Please start.
Okay, sir. So, hello everyone. I welcome you all. Today, me and my friend Saad are here to present the summary of a book, How to Measure Your Life, written by Clay Christian, who is a professor in Harvard Business School. Clay is a business consultant and widely regarded as the best management thinker. In this presentation, you will discover that motivation, not money, is a source of job satisfaction, and that anyhow how hard you work at your job, and how many times you get promoted, it is your friends and family that are true source of happiness. In 2010, in his last class, he asked his students to apply all the business theory that they had learned from their own personal life to find out these three questions, that are: how can I be sure that I will be happy in my career? Second one is, how can I be sure that my relationship with my spouse and my family become enduring source of happiness? And the last one is, how can I be sure that I will be stay out of the jail? Though the last question sounds little hurted, but it is not. Two of the 32 of his students went to jail, spent time in jail. They were good guys, but something went in their life that put them off in the wrong direction. And all In these three questions, you not may be thinking all of them, but two may be similar to you. According to Clay, you can manage your life by managing these three questions. And throughout the book, Clay has uh, explained these three questions by giving bunch of personal example and business examples. Is this book worth even reading? I would say yes, because Clay has experience in both field, in the field of entrepreneurship and in the field of academics. After reading this book, you will realize that you should treat your life like a business. The moment you have that bird eye view on your life, I think it becomes easy to live life like a meaningfully and measure it accurately. So with this said, let's jump to the question number one. How can I be sure that I will be happy in my career? Happiness looks different for everyone. For you, maybe it is being at peace with who you are or having a friend circle that accept you unconditionally. To have a professional strategy is knowing what you want and how you wanted to get there. Let's now look at the next slide that shows true motivator and powerful motivator. Powerful motivator in your life is not money. Motivation are derived from the work that matches your needs and interests. Even many psychologists has proposed that our need and interest can be divided into two categories. That is hygienic factors and motivation factors. Hygienic factor covers the issues like general condition at work, companies policies, supervision policies, and job security. While motivation factors include challenging work, recognitions, responsibility, and personal growth. If these issues are lacking or not satisfactory, then it is a case of bad hygienic that causes job dissatisfaction. Continue with our next graphic. Purpose of life. According to Clay, without a purpose of life, life becomes hollow. Clay said this because he used to study in the Harvard Business School. He used to give 1 hour daily in every night to reading and thinking why God put him on this earth. At the Harvard Business School, he have seen past student reunion. He have seen more and more of them come to reunion unhappy, divorced, and alienated from their children. They didn't keep the purpose of their life at front and center as they decided how to spend their time, talent, and energy. They had given little thought to the purpose of life. So for him, having a clear purpose of life is essential. Allocate your resources. Your decision allocate your resources, personal time, energy, ultimately shape your life strategy. He identified resources as time, money. How you spend these things is what will determine the outcome, will tell about your priorities, and your priority will tell whether you are satisfied or not, or happy or not. He explained how do you make sure that you are heading towards the right direction and where your resources flow. If these are not supporting the strategy you have decided upon, then you are not implementing the strategy at all. I hope this slide gave you some more insights. Let's move on. Which tool to use? Knowing what tool to wield to elicit the needed cooperation is a critical managerial skill. You have seen impatient leader very fast and go for solution, but the great leader invests their effort and wisdom much heavily on this. They would win without any force. Choosing the right tool can help you balance professional life and rest of it. Because these benefits take a long time to shine through it, but it is hard to invest the time and trust the process. But it might give flow to your career. Let's move on. Up to this slide, you have must have realized that management as a profession is the most upstanding and noble profession. No other occupation offers as many ways to help others learn and grow, take responsibility, and be recognized for achievement, contribute to the success of a team. Throughout this book, and through wisdom gained by the Clay's experience, how to lead a life with a balance, integrity, and purpose. That's the end of my talk. Now I will now hand over to my friend Saad.
Thank you, Shahrukh. So our next question will start with, how can I be sure that my family becomes an enduring source of happiness? So the answer of this question is explained by the author, that is creating a culture. So
You are not audible, Sad.
hello, how I am audible, sir?
Very feeble voice.
Hello,
Yes, a little bit louder, please.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes, you are audible,
Yes,
but
yes.
it's very weak. Okay, try it. Bit loud, be a bit louder.
So the answer of this question is that creating a culture. So creating a culture is really important. That is what author is trying to explain here. That in homes, you have to create a good culture from the very beginning. It's not like that when the kids are grown up and becomes into the teenage and now you're trying to create such kind of culture, then it's become really difficult for them to adopt and settle that kind of culture. So creating a culture in home and younger age is really important because as a kid they have a strong self-esteem and had a hard problem solving attitude. So you have to create such type of culture from the very beginning. And same applies with the organizations as well. It's not like that when it start growing up and it start generating the revenues and it from startup it's now converting into a big huge company and then changing culture has become really difficult to adopt such type of culture for employees become really difficult. So for the critical management skill as I just told now that should know which tool to use for the needed cooperation between employees and organizations to give company a new direction. So employees do not have to think about themselves only, but they, with the cooperation uh, with the organization, they have to think about the company's goal. So for that, creating a culture is really important. So that's what author is trying to explain here. The next slide, please, Shara. So our next question is that how can you live a life of integrity? That is, how can you be out of state jail? So the answer of this question is avoid choosing marginal cost doctrine, like when choosing between right and wrong. So from our past experience, we know that what is right, what is wrong. But many times we choose the wrong thing because we thought that once in a week or month or even in a year we do that. So that's not a problem because we do not supposed to do that, but still we choose that. So that you all is trying to explain here that once we break our own rule, so we become habitual of doing that all over again. So that's what author is trying to explain here that it's easier you to hold your principle 100% than to hold it at 98%. Like if you trying to leave something, avoid something like cigarette or junk food, you know from your past experience that it's not good at all and it's wrong. But still, sometimes you thought if once in a month I do that, so it really doesn't matter. But that's what I'm trying to explain that when you do even a single time, that you become habitual of doing that all over again. So holding it at 100%, it's easy in comparison to that holding it at 98%. Next slide, please, Shari. So importance of humility. Here author is trying to explain the importance of humility here. That he's trying to explain that humility does not always mean self-depreciation or self-esteem, but it's about how well to treat other people. So how your behavior is with other people. It's not all about just how you feel about yourself, what is your strength and weaknesses, but it's more about how you treat other people. So one can have strong self-esteem and humility at the same time. So that's what we trying to explain that the importance of humility and it's more about how you treat other people and what is your behavior other people. Next slide, please, Shari. So choosing the right yardstick. So author trying to explain here that those companies that users in research have generated huge profit and revenues. But now when he's suffering from cancer, his success really doesn't matter. So the thing which he's trying to explain here is choosing the right yardstick is really important. Uh, because he said that money revenues always does not matter because in the end when he's suffering from cancer his success really doesn't matter because in the end God will judge us on different matrices like how many life I have lived and not how much good life I have lived. So that's why I'm trying to explain that choosing the right idea is very important. So this is the last question and so that's all from us. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll come back to the performances. Let us move on to the next presenters. Danish and Ashish.
Yes,
Both are present.
yes, sir. So, am I audible?
Yes.
And is my presentation is in slideshow? Okay. Good morning, all of you. Hope you all are good and fine. So the topic of today's discussion is the discipline of building character. This is an article by Joseph L. Badarko Jr. Before introducing you to the article, I would like to have some brief introduction about author of article. Joseph L. Badarko is a member of Harvard Business School's General Management area and has taught courses on strategy, general management, business government relations, and business ethics in schools MBA and executive programs. Now coming over to the article. This article is mainly based on decision making and problem solving roles what we will have to face in an organization at different levels. And from this article, we will get to know how we can take decision, especially when we will have to choose between right and right. In this article, author explains the defining moments that manager and leader face. So moving on to with content, this is the content which I will be covering in the discussion. That is the introduction, ethical decision versus defining movement, kind of defining movements, defining movement for individuals, work groups, executives, and conclusion. So going on to the with introduction, that is what is defining movement. What happens at many times we are caught in a conflict between right, and no matter which option we choose, we feel like we have come up short. So managers respond to these situations in variety of ways. Some impulsively go with their gut, others talk it over with their friends, colleagues, or families. Still, others think back to what a mentor would do in a similar circumstances. In every case, regardless of what path is chosen, these decisions taken cumulatively over many years form the very basis of individual's character. For that reason, they are called defining movements. Is the difference between ethical decision and defining movement. Ethical decision is a decision based on situation in which a person knows that this is right and this is wrong. So accordingly, he can take decision very effectively that okay, this is right, I will go for it. But in defining movement, it becomes a challenge because there are two or more ideal situations. Such challenge really have a correct response. Rather, they are situations created by circumstances that ask us to step forward. So what are the applications of defining movement? Means where to use them. So there are 3 steps that leaders take us to use defining movements, means to become better. The first one is identify. It matters little how you approach the task. What matters is that you dig deep and identify the challenges and events that changed you and define who you are today. The second one is transform. The most important part of defining movement is arguably how we choose to use them, how we react to change and adversity. The third one is share. The third way successful leaders use defining movements to become better is by sharing their own stories with others. So, author explains that there are 3 types of defining movements. The first one is who am I? The second one is who are we? And the third one is who is the company? Managers who learn to identify these 3 types of defining movements will be more able to effectively navigate the right versus right decisions they face throughout their careers. Okay, so moving on with the first type of defining movement, that is defining movement for individuals. The first type of movement is centered on personal identity. This requires the manager to ask the question, who am I? The example that was provided in the article is when a manager is faced with 2 rights, each one representing a reasonable and attractive choice. In most cases, the both choices are right. So the manager must make a choice of right versus right. So before making the choice of right versus right, the person has to go through a certain question. And these questions are based on certain factors. So first of most important factor is conflicting feeling. When caught in this bind, manager can begin by taking a step back and looking at the conflict not as a problem, but as a natural tension between two valid perspectives. To flesh out this tension, we can ask what feelings and intuitions are coming into conflict in this situation. As Aristotle discussed in his classic work of Ethics, people's feelings can actually help them make a sense of an issue, understand its basic dimensions, and indicate what the stakes really are. In other words, our feelings and intuitions are both a form of intelligence and a source of insight. The second factor upon which the question should be asked is deeply rooted values. By framing defining movement in terms of our feelings and intuitions, we can remove the conflict from its business context and bring it to more personal and manageable level. Then we can consider a second question to resolve the conflict. That is, which of the responsibilities and values that are in conflict are most deeply rooted in my life and in the communities I care about. So tracing the roots of our values means understanding their origins and evolution over time. It involves an effort to understand which values and commitments really mean the most to us. The third factor is shrewdness and expediency. We all have seen managers who unthinkably throw themselves into a deeply felt personal cause and suffer serious personal and career setbacks. Idealism, untempered by realism, often does a little to improve the world. Hence, the next critical question becomes what combination of shrewdness and expediency coupled with imagination and boldness will help me to implement my personal understanding of what is right. This is of course a different question altogether from what should I do. It acknowledges that the business world is a bottom line, a rough and tumble arena where introspection alone won't get the job done. The process of looking inward must culminate in concrete action characterized by tenacity, persuasiveness, shrewdness, and self-confidence. Now, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Mohammad Danish. He will have a further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. So first of all, a very good morning to all of you. Now, I would like to continue with the further discussion. So the second type of defining moment that is centered on group as well as individual. It leads manager to the question, who are we? The manager must not only look at situation as conflict between two personal beliefs, but also take into account the values of their work group and their responsibilities to people they manage. The manager has a direct impact on how a group and values are formed by the way these type of defining moments are handled. Now we will see what types of question a manager must ask for a better understanding of defining moment at a managerial level. Here we can consider some factors that influence a manager to raise question. So the first point is points of view that can influence a manager to raise a question. Uh, in many organizations, we can see many managers suffer from a kind of ethical myopia, believing that their ethical entire group views the situation through the same lens that they do. This way of thinking rarely succeeds in bringing people together to accomplish common goals. Difference in upbringing, religion, ethnicity, and education make it difficult for any two people to view a situation similarly, let alone an entire group of people. The ethical challenge for a manager is not to impose his or her understanding of what is right on the group, but to understand how other members view the dilemma. The manager must ask what are the other strong persuasive interpretation of the ethics of this situation. Now, the second point is influencing behavior. Influencing behavior is actually identifying competing interpretation, of course, is only part of the battle. But manager also need to take a hard look at the organization in which they work and make a realistic assessment of whose interpretation will win out in the end. A number of factors can determine which interpretation will prevail: company culture, group norms, corporate goals, and company policy, and the inevitable political jockeying and battling inside organization. In the words of American philosopher William James, the final victorious way of looking at things will be the most completely impressive to the normal run of mind. Therefore, managers need to ask themselves what point of view is most likely to win the contest of interpretation and influence the thinking and behavior of other people. Now, the third point is truth as process. Planning ahead is at the heart of our managerial work. One needs to learn to spot problems before they blow up into crisis. The same is true for defining moment in groups. They should be seen as a part of a larger process that, like any other, needs to be managed. Effective manager put into place the condition for the successful resolution of defining moment long before those moments actually present themselves. For in the words of William James, the truth of an idea is not a stagnant property inherent in it. Truth happens to an idea. It becomes true, is made true by event. Its verity, in fact, an event, a process. Manager can start creating a condition for a particular interpretation to prevail by asking, have I orchestrated a process that can make my interpretation win in my group? Now, the last point is playing to win. Playing to win, one of the hallmark of a defining moment is that there is a lot of stake for all the players in the drama. More often than not, the player will put their own interest first. In this type of business setting, neither the most well-meaning intention nor the best design process will get the job done. Manager must be ready to roll up their sleeves and dive into the organizational play, putting to use appropriate and effective tactics that will make their vision a reality. They need to reflect on the question, am I just playing along or am I playing to win? Ashish, please move on to the next slide. Now we will see the third type of defining moment. It defines a company's role within society. It presents the question, who is the company? A leader who has this responsibility must be able to redefine the direction of his or her own life and the direction of the entire organization. These leaders are asked to make visible their understanding of what is right on a large scale. They not only commit to themselves or to a single work group, but to the entire company with an irreversible course of action during this type of defining moment. And in this type also, we can consider some factor that influence a manager to raise question at an executive level. So the first factor is personal and organizational strength. In the face of such overwhelming decision, executive typically call meeting, start negotiation, and hire consultants and lawyers. Although these steps can be helpful, they can prove disappointing unless executives have taken the time and the necessary step to carve out a powerful position for themselves in the debate. From a position of strength, leader can bring forth their vision of what is right in a situation. Uh, from a position of weakness, leader action are hollow and desperate. Also, before CEOs can step forth onto society's broad stage with a personal vision, they must make sure that their action will not jeopardize the well-being of their companies. The job of the employees and the net income of shareholders. That means asking, have I done all I can to secure my position and the strength and stability of my organization? Now we can see the second point, the role of the organization in society. What makes this third type of defining moment so difficult is that executives are asked to form, reveal, and test not only themselves and their work group, but also their entire company and its role in society. That requires forging plan of action a plan of action that function at three levels: the individual, the work, and the society level. In which areas do we want to lead? In which areas do we want to follow? How should we interact with the government, with shareholders? Leader must ask themselves, have I thought creatively, boldly, and imaginatively about my organization's role in society and its relationship to its stakeholders? Now, the last point is from vision to reality. Uh, Here we see to make their ethical vision a reality, top level executive must assess their opponent and allies very carefully. What allies do I have inside and outside my company? Which party will resist or fight my efforts? Have I underestimated their power and tactical skill or overestimated their ethical commitment? Whom will I alienate with my decision? Which parties will retaliate and how? This tactical concern can be summed up in the question, what combination of shrewdness, creativity, and tenacity will make my vision a reality? Ashish, please move on to the next slide. Now the conclusion part. So after reading this article, we are on the conclusion that By learning to identify each of those three situations, manager can learn to navigate right versus right decisions successfully. And by taking time out to engage in the process of self-inquiry, manager will be getting a better handle on the most elusive, challenging, and essential business problem. Defining moment are what make manager a leader and good leaders to a great leader. It forces us to find a balance between our hearts in all their idealism and our jobs, all their messy reality. To become leader, manager need to translate their personal values into calculated action. And to resolve their toughest business challenge, executive need to refocus on their core values. And to resolve their toughest business challenge, executive need to refocus their core value. Manager needs to determine if their ethical vision will be supported by their co-workers and employees. Some of the most challenging defining moments faced by manager ask them to balance work and family. This article has provided us with a great deal of insight, and we can see an immediate impact on the way we handle issues that we face on a daily basis. It introduced the expect tension between two value perspectives. The article also gives a very interesting perspective on decision that we make and don't make. It has made us more aware of the fact we should not impose our understanding of what is right on our team, but to take the time to understand how they see the situation. That is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, all the four presenters. Uh, so before we come to the content of these two articles, let us first try to analyze the performance of the four presenters. And we will start with the first presenter, and let us have some self-reflection first. So what do you think, Sharif, about your performance?
About my performance. Okay. So what I observed today, I was very enthusiastic before the performance, but when it comes on me, my enthusiasm converted into some kind of nervousness, and I feel disturbance because we should have a, physical. What can I say? We should have a physical boundaries between you and your families while doing a presentation because I feel a lot of disturbance while doing a presentation. That's all.
Right. So, anyone who would like to advise or give some feedback to Sharif? So, what can be some areas of improvement and what are some of the good points?
Sir, he can smile.
Yes. Good. Anyone else? Okay, so let us come to Saad then. Saad, what do you think?
So I think, sir, am I audible?
Yeah, audible, but not very, but it's very feeble. Yes.
Yes, sir. So I think that coordination between us is good, and I think the overall presentation was okay. And I thought that if I do more practice, of course, I can improve on it.
I'm not able to hear the last point. What did you say?
I'm saying that if I do practice more, then I can able to improve in this area.
Right. Any suggestion for Saad? Anyone who would like to give some feedback to Saad? Okay, so if you have to analyze the first presentation in terms of performance, then definitely I would say that what Saad has pointed out, practice, which was a bit lacking, you could see. Now, what Sharif has himself pointed out that the enthusiasm actually converted into nervousness, and I think one important issue we all have to understand things. For both the presentations, I would like to make this point that one hallmark, and for everyone, all the students here need to understand one thing. What this course is all about, what this MBA is all about. Okay, why are you doing a course like MBA? What was the need to create this course MBA? Okay, and what is the difference between you, say for example, or any one particular engineer or one particular say a BCom graduate? What is the difference? We have to understand that why we are doing something. So one of the major difference between an expectation from a manager or from a person who has completed this course called Masters of Business Administration is the application part. That a person can analyze a situation and apply what they have learned to that situation. Now, in both the presentations, I found that missing because you yourself had may have understood the article, but how do you apply that article? And in fact, in the first article itself, you must have seen that in the commentary, Clayton Christensen has mentioned that his job is always to basically guide people towards that application part. Okay, so when you look at an article, when you read an article, or you read any piece of information, as a critical thinker, your first job is to understand, absorb, and then take out lessons what you have and what you can apply directly. If you are not able to distill this information, then there is no point in studying that. There is no point. Okay, so the question is, what's in it for me is very important. What's in it for me or for my classmates or for this presentation? Okay, so whenever you are giving a presentation, think about from the perspective of the audience. Okay, why am I doing this? I have to distill some information from some piece which is very powerfully written, and then look at how can I apply it in my situation or in my future situations. Okay. So in both the articles, in both the presentations, what I felt that you lack examples. And not just in the second presentation, you had so many examples. And in fact, in the article also, there was given a lot of examples were given. Okay. So use examples, and once you start using example also, and you are not fixated to the content, the exact line, exact words which are being written in that article. So once you get away from that, you start thinking, okay, and once you start thinking, and that is a hallmark of an informed person. So आपको क्या करना है? आपको you have to become an informed person, and you have to inform others. So as a part of your training as an MBA, what you have to learn, कुछ भी चीज आप पढ़ रहे हैं, no matter what you are studying, whether it is quantitative analysis, whether you are studying sales management, whether you are studying research methodology, think about how will you apply this in real life. See, because majority of you, in fact, almost 99% of you have never seen a workplace, have never gone to any workplace. So these articles have a lot of examples which you can share, okay, and create the situation. I really like actually the slides in the first presentation. Okay. But there's only one suggestion regarding the slides. You were using a lot of diagrams to explain things, and it is very good. It is very good when you are visualizing the idea and converting that idea into some visual form. It's very good. Just one suggestion: instead of using a darker background, you could have used white background. And you can just you do it on your own. I'm not saying it. You do it on your own and see the difference for yourself. See the visual impact it has. Because I could see, because those images which you have copied and pasted, they had white background, but your slides had dark background. Okay, so it was looking not clean. And the moment it looks clean, the impact is more. So look at. I'm not saying that all of you should use white background, but what I'm saying here is that in this particular case, my suggestion is that if you use white background, it will be better. Try to do that. I noticed some pronunciation issues also in the first presentation. So what I would again say that the keyword here, what Saad has already pointed out, practice, practice, and practice. Okay. The more you practice, the better it will be. And Sharif, yes, I found that there was some disturbance at your end physically. But that's what the preparation is all about. Okay, if you can anticipate that there will be different, you can take care of it. You are a MBA. You are going to become an MBA. You are going to become a manager. So you need to solve problems. Okay, and if there is some issues, try to think of a solution. Maybe go to some other place or for the presentation or whatever. We find solutions. Okay, when we are pushed to the wall, when we are supposed to find, so we will find solutions. Okay, so think about that. So let us come to the next two presenters. Ashish, what do you think?
In the starting, I was quite nervous, but what I feel the starting should be in confidence. And what you said, the lack of example. Actually, sir, in article there was a lot of examples. There were a lot of examples, but time was also a constraint. So it was very difficult. I was thinking that let's keep some example, but that explaining that situation and example would consume a lot of time. That's why we eliminated the examples.
Okay. Any feedback for Ashish? Anyone who would like to suggest something to Ashish? Okay, let us hear from Danish also. Danish, what do you think?
Sir, I think overall it was good because this is my second presentation, and the last time it was not going well. I think I forget the things what I have to speak, and because of that I get nervous, and I think my pronunciation part was not so well. I mispronounced most of the word, like Parvesh sir told me last time. I tried to pronounce correctly. I don't know whether I'm right. I was correct or not. So overall, I think it needs more improvement, and we can practice more. And I hope I hope in the next 2 to 3 presentation I can present well.
Okay, that's very good. Any suggestions? Any feedback for Danish?
Sir, I had worked with Danish in the previous presentation that we had given in the course. So I think he has improved a lot. And his local language effect that the Parvesh sir mentioned in the last class has gone. The local language effect, I don't know from which place he is, but there was some effect and that has gone. Pronunciation has not improved that much. But yes, he has put a lot of effort. And last time he had forgot what we had to present. So he used to read from the copy just in front of the screen. Now he has switched it smartly, and I think his copy is behind the phone. So in that way, he has worked a lot and has improved. So congrats, and you can do better.
Okay, so actually I have not seen your last presentation, so I'll not comment on that part. But I hope that in the next coming presentations you will improve further. First, to talk about Ashish. Ashish, your what I noticed that your start was fine. Your start was fine because you spoke about what the article was about. You spoke about the contents, that what you are going to present. That was good. However, when I noticed that in some of the slides the text was too much, especially in the introduction and the conclusion slide, and in some in between also. So once you are even in the diagrams, you don't have to put too much content. You don't have to put everything there. So because you are speaking also, so you have to just put the keywords there and just the anchor words. I hope that you will use this next recruitment, because sometimes we get in the tendency that what will happen if you forget. This is the thought behind putting everything on text. Usually this is the tendency. Okay, so try to curb this tendency of putting everything on text, and basically the more you practice, the more confident you will be that you will not forget, first thing. And if you are forgetting, like Danish and both of you, you can use cue cards. I will give you an example that instead of like having a written script every word by word or placing it in front of a camera, here it is a camera, say for example, you are using. But in physical presentations, you will not have that luxury. So start practicing with the cue cards, because cue cards, you can keep it anywhere. Even in the virtual presentations, you can use cue cards, and even in the physical presentations, you can use small cue cards and place it in your hands. And it doesn't look bad also. Okay. So start using cue cards, and then sometimes what happens, because the text is smaller on cue cards, so I used to do, we can use different color text. So for example, if there's an important point, I would use a red marker to write that. So that even if during the presentation, I just have a look at it and I remember that, okay, this is a main anchor point. I should not miss this. Okay, that's red color. So this is how you start doing it. Okay. The second is obviously the examples part. It's not about the time. Yes, you already took a lot of time. I would not say that you were like you took a lot of your time. So, but the impact, if you would have used that example, say for example, the Catherine McNeil example, the single mother example, which we had in that article. Okay, it was a very interesting article. And then Lewis's example. Now, just imagine if you have narrated that story of Lewis and then ask the students would remember that story. Student would remember the story, and a student would remember that dilemma, that defining moment they will remember. Or Edward Saki's problem of like when he was CEO and he has to introduce that drug and all these things. So just you give the situation and then had the defining moment, the impact would be much more. And now you made so much effort in creating those slides and like 3 points and all these things. You covered everything, but if you ask any of your classmates after the class how much of that you remember, I'm sure at very few points, if at all they were very keen to listen, if they were making notes or something, then I would say that few points they would remember. Otherwise, and only I think Adnan would be remembering because he had to write the summary. Otherwise, not many people would have taken notes. That's what I can guarantee. Okay, that much I know my students. Okay. So now this habit of taking notes has gone. Everyone is typing, and now it's because we are so much in typing. Sometimes we don't even type the notes. We type messages to our friends simultaneously in classes. So that's okay. But this is what you should do as MBAs. That's what I want to. I want this is skill that you should get this skill and develop this skill, because this is nobody can help you. You remember this article of Clayton Christensen. Please read this article. What Clayton is saying, he was invited by the CEO at that time of Intel, Andy Grove. Andy Grove is also very famous. He has written a book called Only the Paranoid Survive, I think. That's the name of the book or something. So Intel, Andy Grove was a phenomenal leader. And in fact, the rise of Intel happened during the time of Andy Grove. Andy Grove invited Clayton Christensen. Clayton Christensen was a consultant of a very high pedigree. He was one of the world's most expensive consultants. A professor at Harvard, but he has a consultancy. He wrote a lot of books, Clayton Christensen. So he was invited by Andy Grove to explain that idea of his book. He wrote a book called Innovator's Dilemma. And he coined this term, disruptive innovation. Okay, so Andy Grove asked him to present what he has written in that book in just 10 minutes. Okay, and his main question was, okay, I have read your model. How will it apply to Intel? Okay, he was continuously asking this question, but Clayton Christensen did not give that answer. He instead was talking about how this model is applied, Because in business, you cannot ask others to give you answers. Please understand this. As individuals, as business, as managers, nobody else can give you answers. You have to find your own answers. Okay? You should understand things and find your answers. That is a skill you need to develop. Put yourself in situations where you need to think, okay, now I have only these 5 things. This is the objective I have. How will I fulfill that objective? Okay, I know something. There was knowledge. Okay, 4 P's of marketing. It was told to me by Asif Ali Sayyed sir in my marketing manager class. Okay, 4 P's of marketing. Or Navesh Saab told me this. Okay, in research methodology, he talked about all of these things. I have to launch a new product. My company has given me this objective. How can I use that knowledge which Navesh Saab provided in that RMM class? Can I use it here? That is a skill you have to develop. Okay. What Parvez Saab told me in business communication, when I'm writing a letter, am I using the 7 C's of communication? Am I applying what I have learned? It doesn't matter whether you see, the more you get into the habit of applying, I think that is the that is the winning ingredient for becoming a successful manager. Please understand that. And just by passively, nobody can give you answers, right answers. I have seen all great teachers, they don't provide right answers. They will never give you a straight answer. They will always give you a path to think. Think in this direction, think in that direction. You will get to an answer. I remember even I'm narrating an incident. I have already crossed the time, but I'll narrate one very small incident regarding this. Before joining the department, I was working with one NGO as a regional coordinator, and my job was to visit all over India and to look for nice models for different things, the people who are doing some great work. So I went to Patna, and Patna, many of you must have heard about a very this model. Super 30, Rahmani 30, IIT focused for IIT coaching. So I went to Rahmani 30 basically, and I went to see how their model worked. And there I met retired DGP of Bihar, Mr. Abhinand. Many of you can just Google about Mr. Abhinand. He had given a TED talk also about ethics, and he is a very famous man. He was a retired IPS officer, DGP of Bihar. So actually, he was the mentor and the chief organizer of Rahmani 30. He established Rahmani 30. So very few people knew, but he was before with Anand Kumar in Super 30. He had a fallout with him, and he was separate now. And he is a physics teacher, and he was not trained in physics. Actually, he wanted to teach his son physics. So he started studying physics. And before going to an IPS officer, can you imagine how busy an IPS officer is? So he used to teach his son before going to his office in the morning. From 6 to 8, he used to teach his son physics. So he learned physics, and he really developed a knack for physics. Now, I went to see him. I did an interview with him, and I then sat in his class. I asked permission that can I sit in your class? So he was teaching fluid mechanics. I remember that class till now. You can imagine how many classes I would have attended in my career. I remember that class. That is an impact of a great teacher. I went into that class, and in that class he was teaching fluid mechanics and all. So one boy asked him a question. That sir, this is a situation and all. This was a question in this test paper, and I could not solve it. So Abhinand sir said, so these are the 4 options. What will be the answer? Abhinand sir said that you remember this is I taught you in so and so class. Okay, yes sir, that is the principle I remember. Okay, in that principle. You change these parameters. That's what he was just giving indications. You change these parameters, okay, and then apply it again, and think for yourself. So, and he went out of the class after the class ended. So I was sitting with him in his chamber, and I was discussing with him certain things. That boy came back and he said, "Sir, I got an answer." I got an answer. Is this a correct answer? He said that yes, it is a correct answer. He said that I have not solved this problem. You have solved this problem because I will not be there when you will have your JEE exam. You will be there with the paper. So think about how to solve this problem and apply. Now, then he gave him 4 more situations from that same question. You can imagine from that same fluid mechanics question, that one concept. He said, change these things and try to think, okay, what will happen if you change these things? There's no question about it. And then he called his assistant. He said that make a question on this part. So make a question on this, change the situation. So that was a new question bank which was developing. This is how great thinkers and this is how people, problem solvers think. Okay. So nobody will give you direct answers to anything. There are no right and wrong answers. There are no direct answers to anything. You have to find your own answers and start thinking about finding answers. There is no point in you reading this article and just picking a presentation and going back. Read that article and think, मेरी जिंदगी में, मेरी लाइफ में अगर ये सिचुएशन आई तो मैं क्या करूंगा? What will I do? How will I react? That is a key takeaway you should have. And try to develop this skill of applying things. कोई कुछ भी किसी भी क्लास में पढ़ा रहा है आपको, फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट में पढ़ाते हैं. Javed sir teaches you ratios and Khalid sir teaches you ratios. Okay. Think about how to apply that ratio. क्या होगा? मेरी कंपनी है, मुझे खुद देखना. What will be the key ratio which I will look at? Think about all of these things. So unless you start thinking about things, पढ़ेंगे आप लोग, बंद करेंगे. एग्जाम तो आजकल वाइवा वगैरह हो रहा है, वैसे भी रिटन एग्जाम तो हो नहीं रहा है. तो ठीक है, निकल जाएगा, MBA क्लियर हो जाएगा. That doesn't matter. मतलब आप लोग फिर वो होगा. फिर you will start feeling yourself that हम तो बड़ा disadvantage हैं. We are the COVID affected batch and all these things. So don't start pitying yourself. Okay. आप अपने आप को पिटी मत करिए कि आपके पास ये नहीं है. पूरी दुनिया इस वक्त इंटरनेट पे चल रही है. Companies are making billions and billions of dollars on internet. Okay. So there is no disadvantage at right now. Actually, you have an opportunity. So think about all of these things. क्योंकि ये वक्त निकल जाएगा. In your future, nobody else will have stake except you. Your stake will be the highest, then your family. Okay. किसी और का स्टेक नहीं होगा. उसका बेनिफिट भी आपको ही मिलेगा, उसका नुकसान भी आपको ही होगा अगर आप चीजें नहीं करेंगे. हम तो सिर्फ आपको थोड़ा थोड़ा गाइड कर सकते हैं. That's all what we can. I hope you took that. And in fact, these articles again, I would request all of you to read these articles. It's not for the people who are presenting only. Okay, please read these articles and let us catch up tomorrow. Okay, take care.